The Windows project began way back 13 years ago when Sharon O'Connell, the librarian that I worked with, and I thought it would be a good idea to start cataloging the experiences of World War II veterans as part of the Library of Congress project. From there, about 4 or 5 years ago, the project evolved into not only working with just World War II veterans, but also working with people who have made the world or our local community a better place. The Windows project requires students to spend about 2.5 weeks working to make a movie about, again, a World War II veteran or a community member from Skaneateles who has worked to make the world a better place. The project all begins with an interview that the students conduct in our library. From there, the students write a script with our English teacher, and then we also work together in what we call the Zoom Room Lab, which is a math lab where the students work to make a movie. The primary focus from the social studies angle for the Windows project, there's a research component, but also very important is students' understanding of civic participation and what community members around them have done to make the world a better place.
The library connects with the Windows project by inviting the guests to come and managing that whole piece. Also suggesting resources that are appropriate for the research for each movie person, and reaps the benefits by the amazing PR that comes to the library and to the school from reaching out to the community in this way.
World War II exposed the darkest side of humanity. The war started due to the clash between the Allied powers and the Axis powers. The fight lasted from September 1st, 1939 to September 2nd, 1945. As Nazi powers raised in Germany, discrimination towards the Jewish also increased. By the time Hitler and his army invaded Poland and marked the start of the war in Europe, 6 concentration camps were already up and running. These camps claimed around 3 million Jewish lives. Prisoners who did not perish due to gas chambers, mass shootings, or from being test subjects also died from hunger, exhaustion, and disease.
Anne Frank was one of 3 million Jewish people who perished during World War II. She was born in Frankfurt, Germany. When she was just 4 years old, she and her family moved to Amsterdam, Holland. When the Nazis invaded Holland, Anne and her family went into hiding. While they were hiding, Anne wrote in her diary. They hid for 2 years, but were later found and sent to concentration camps. Otto, Anne's father, was sent to a different camp than the rest of the family. Anne was sent to Bergen-Belsen, where she got typhus and later died. Otto was the only family member to survive, and when he returned to Amsterdam, he found Anne's diary and shared her story with the world.
Anne Frank was one of the most famous people from the Holocaust. Can you imagine knowing her? Leah Bates was a special person. She knew the famous Anne Frank. Leah was 1 year older than Anne, but attended the same school as Anne for 3 years. Leah mentioned that she remembers Anne as being very talkative. The teachers even told her to be quiet sometimes. Leah recalled a time when she heard Anne speaking a language that wasn't Dutch. This took Leah off guard, and she even told her mom that Anne spoke a secret language. Leah came to find out that Anne was in fact speaking German. Leah was lucky enough to have a poem that Anne wrote to her.
Stay forever as a heather flower, or flower from the heather, which grows between moss and herbs, and then you will be always the sunshine of your environment.
Leah also remembers that Anne was very beautiful and always had the most perfectly ironed shirts.
Every day it was common to fear life during World War II. Nothing was safe. When you went to school, you feared air raids. At home, you worried if you were going to have enough food that night. Leah Bates was forced to eat sugar beets every meal during the coldest winter on record. She heard gunshots around her, mainly the Germans trying to shoot down American planes. Leah witnessed a USA airplane that was shot down. The pilot escaped and hid somewhere on her street. The army searched the houses on her street, but the pilot was never found. Leah's backyard was bombed, causing major panic in her family. 11 of her neighbors died and houses around her were destroyed. In fear, they almost fled their house with their already packed suitcases. Leah Bates came to America to start a new life. Her husband was an American soldier and they decided to come to the United States in 1952. She at first lived in New York City and later moved to Skaneateles. Her old classmate Elizabeth Gosler was also sent to the same concentration camp as Anne. She and Anne Frank communicated by exchanging notes and read over a wall. Elizabeth Gosler survived the camp. Leah Bates heard that Elizabeth was telling her story in the area at a conference, and they became reunited after decades. Leah has donated the poem she received from Anne Frank to our public library. Today, she continues telling her miraculous story of how she witnessed World War II through her own eyes.